Hello, everyone. The space between two people is not empty. That is the thing that most people do not consider when they are sitting with a silence, when the absence of contact has gone on long enough to start producing the familiar, circling questions about what it means and whether it matters and whether the connection was ever as real as it felt. The space is not empty. It is full with everything that has been put into it, every feeling, every unspoken thing, every moment of genuine connection that found its way between two people and then remained there in the field, even after the active contact stopped. And something in that space is the reason the contact has not yet come, not the absence of feeling, not the fading of what was real. Something in the field between you, something operating in the specific and invisible way that the dynamics between two genuinely connected people always operate, that has been holding the moment of contact in suspension, not preventing it, holding it until the specific conditions that will allow it to arrive properly are in place. Take what is yours today. What resonates, let it settle the specific quality of unanswered question that the silence has been producing. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who have been living inside the particular discomfort of a silence from someone whose contact you have been expecting and not receiving, this reading is offering today not just the explanation, but the honest picture of what the silence is actually doing. Let me speak about what is happening in the space between you, because this is the angle that matters most, not simply what is happening in them, not simply what is happening in you, but what is happening in the field that exists between two people who are genuinely connected and who have not yet found the moment for what needs to be expressed. Soft sigh. There is unfinished business in that space, not in the negative, conflicted, something went wrong sense, in the specific, something remains to be said sense of two people who have genuine things to communicate and have not yet found the form or the moment that would allow the communicating to happen properly. Things that exist in the space between you, real, present, waiting, that have not yet been given their expression. And the silence is in part the result of that waiting, of two people circling the unfinished thing without yet finding the approach that allows them to enter it directly. This person is circling. That is the specific and honest description of what is happening on their side, not moving away, circling, keeping you in their orbit, returning in their thoughts and in the private quality of their attention to the unfinished thing that exists in the space between you, without yet having arrived at the specific approach that would allow the circling to become the direct, the contact that the circling is always pointing toward but has not yet found the form to become. Now, let me speak about what specifically is holding the contact in suspension, because the this of the reading's title deserves honest specificity rather than vague spiritual atmosphere. The first thing is timing that has not yet aligned. Not in the cosmic, the stars are not favorable sense. In the practical, something in their current circumstances has been making the moment feel wrong sense of someone who has wanted to reach out and has found. Each time they approached the moment of reaching, that something in their own life was not yet in the configuration that would allow the contact to land the way they need it to land. Who has been waiting, not passively, not with the easy patience of someone for whom the waiting costs nothing for the specific arrangement of their own circumstances that would allow them to come to you with something more than the partial version they currently have. Access to, ooh, they want to bring you something complete. That is the honest core of the timing issue. Not the excuse of timing used as avoidance, the genuine, this matters enough to get right quality of someone who understands that what they want to say deserves to be said properly. That reaching out from the incomplete, from the middle of something unresolved in their own life, that would color the contact in ways they cannot control, would produce something less than what the connection between you deserves. And they are not willing to give you less than what the connection deserves. Even if the waiting produces in you the specific and understandable confusion of someone who cannot see the reason for the silence. That consideration, the specific, you deserve better than what I can currently offer quality of it, is itself a form of respect, an imperfect one that has costs for you that they may not have fully accounted for, but genuine and worth knowing about. The second thing is fear, not the paralyzing, I cannot function kind, the specific, located, this matters enough to be afraid of kind of fear that belongs exclusively to situations where something real is at stake, where the reaching out is not a low stakes gesture, but a meaningful one, the kind that changes something between two people, regardless of how it is received. And the changing of something, even in the direction of something better, requires the full commitment of a person who has accepted that they cannot control what the contact produces. That acceptance is still forming. The fear of the uncontrolled response of bringing what they carry into the open between you and finding that the open air does not hold it the way they hoped has been part of what has kept the circling from becoming the direct, not a permanent obstacle, a current one that is eroding day by day in the specific way that genuine feeling always eventually erodes the fear that was keeping it contained in the direction of finally. Soft sigh. And the third thing, and this is the one spirit is pressing most specifically, is you, not as an obstacle, as the reason. The specific you matter enough to make this complicated quality of someone whose significance to this person has made the ordinary, casual, this costs nothing contact unavailable. Because contact with you is not ordinary or casual or free of cost, is not something that can be done without full presence and genuine intention, is something that requires the preparation and the timing and the willingness to be fully there because you deserve full presence and genuine intention, and anything less feels to this person like a failure of what you are owed. You are the reason the contact has not come in a lesser form. Because the lesser form was available and was not taken, because something in this person understands that you deserve the full form and has been holding out for the moment when the full form is possible, rather than sending something that would reach you as insufficient. That is what has been happening in the space between you. Not emptiness, not fading. The specific, active, something is being held until it is ready quality of a contact that has been preparing itself in the invisible, in the private reckoning of someone who takes the connection seriously enough to take the reaching out seriously for the moment when it can arrive completely. Now, I want to speak to you about what you do with this information, because understanding what is happening in the space does not require you to simply wait indefinitely with more patience than you have already extended. The understanding changes something in the quality of the waiting, not its duration necessarily, but its texture. The difference between waiting inside the wrong story and waiting inside the accurate one. The wrong story says the silence is about your value, that the absence of contact reflects something insufficient in what you offered or who you are or what the connection was worth, that the circling is drifting rather than circling, that the field between you is emptying rather than holding something in suspension. The accurate story says none of that. Says the silence is about timing and fear and the specific quality of someone for whom you matter enough to make the contact complicated. Says the field is full rather than empty. Says the circling is real and the preparation is genuine, and the contact when it comes will carry everything that the holding in suspension was building toward. Live in the accurate story. Not because it is more comfortable, it may not be significantly more comfortable than the wrong one, but because it is true. And living in the true story, however uncomfortable, its specific texture is always preferable to living in the false one, because the false one costs you something the true one does not. Costs you the specific, quietly erosive quality of someone whose self assessment is being shaped by a silence they are misreading, whose sense of their own value is being calibrated against evidence that is not what it appears to be. The silence is not what it appears to be. And knowing that carrying the accurate story protects the self assessment from the erosion that the wrong story produces. Allows you to wait if waiting is what the situation calls for, from the grounded, self possessed position of someone who knows what the silence actually is, rather than from the contracted, diminished position of someone whose reading of it has been producing the wrong conclusions. Soft sigh. Something is coming from the direction of someone who has been circling, who has been holding the contact in suspension, not because it does not exist, but because they have been preparing it imperfectly, with all the human complications of timing and fear, and the specific challenge of bringing something important to someone who matters for the moment when it can arrive completely. That moment is closer than the silence has been suggesting. The preparation is nearing its completion. The timing is finding its alignment. The fear is eroding under the accumulated weight of genuine feeling that has been pressing toward expression long enough that the pressing is beginning to exceed the fear. And the contact, when it finally crosses from the space between you into the direct, the spoken, the actually here, will carry the full weight of everything the suspension held. Uh, Weight in the accurate story from solid ground as the person the contact is being prepared for, which is someone who deserves the full form rather than the lesser one. And trust that what is coming from the space between you when it finally completes the journey from invisible to visible is worth what the waiting required. The space is not empty, it never was. And what it holds is making its way toward you. If this reading found you today, if something here replaced the wrong story with an accurate one and gave you solid ground to stand on while the contact finishes its preparation, stay close. Subscribe and come back, because the story of what arrives from a space that has been holding something real when it finally crosses into the direct is one worth witnessing all the way through. And the next reading will be there for every step of what the contact makes possible.